Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure and vehicle review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Catwoman and Batpod from The Dark Knight Rises. This is a McFarlane Toys Store exclusive, gold label. Order the bundle with the unmasked Batman, use the bundle discount and the coupon code, and it finally arrived today. So let's take a look at the packaging, which is a little smaller than I expected. This is a gold label collection. Gold label simply means a retailer exclusive, whether it be Target or Walmart. This particular gold label is a McFarlane Toys Store exclusive. Dark Knight Trilogy, DC Multiverse, Catwoman Batpod, measures at 14 inches, 36 centimeters, ages 12 plus. Here she is on the front, riding the Batpod. On the top, you can see Catwoman on the Batpod, a couple different display options for her goggles. She looks really good. At the back, here's Catwoman from the movie on the Batpod, and then there's the figure. At the bottom, we have some instructions how to put it together, and there is the barcode if that helps anybody. So no further ado, let's open her up. And I did get two of these sets, one of which to open and enjoy, the other one to keep unopened in my complete Batman-related unopened action figure collection. Alright, now that this figure and vehicle out of the package, here they are with all their accessories laid out. We have a display stand, a collector's card, two alternate hands, totaling 4 interchangeable hands for Catwoman, and then 2 removable guns from the Batpod. Before I take a look at all that, let's talk about and check out the figure. So this is Catwoman from The Dark Knight Rises, played by Anne Hathaway, and this particular version is the goggles down version. Well, the goggles go up and down, but the lenses are rotated in a certain way that don't look like cat ears. The cat ears is my preferred version of Catwoman, but this one with these type of goggles makes more sense for the Batpod. In this video, we'll take a look at the figure, her accessories, height, and articulation, and then we'll check out the Batpod. We'll compare them both with a bunch of other Catwoman and different Batman vehicles. So, let's start off by putting the Batpod together. We have these 2 removable guns that go on the side. Let's get them attached real quick. So I went ahead and attached the Batpod guns, and it's kind of interesting. They look different on both sides. This one you can see a ton of the silver metal, and this one here has this large sort of line going right through it. It must be because of how they are designed with a tumbler. Remember, this is the actual wheel for the front of the tumbler. So this is probably, I don't know, the one on the right side of the tumbler, as this will be connected here, and presumably there's another one on the other side. Before we take a look at everything in depth, let's check out the boring stuff. So here's our display stand and collector's card. It's that same McFarlane display stand we've seen a million times before. Then we have the collector's card. It's Catwoman on the Batpod. Catwoman and Batpod from The Dark Knight Rises. On the back side, there is a description. If you want to read that, go ahead and pause now. So here's this Catwoman's collector's card on the left, next to the Platinum Chase variant of Catwoman's collector's card on the right. Let's take a closer look at this Catwoman. Face looks absolutely fantastic. She has the goggles on top of her head, and they can actually rotate down in front of her eyes. Face sculpt is great. Hair is sort of flowing back. She's driving the Batpod, going in the wind. Suit has nice texturing on it. It's subtle. It's got a zipper that goes up and down the middle. You can see her belt. More of the texturing on there. Some wrinkles in her hips. Thigh-high boots. Very tall gloves. High heels with that sort of spike thing at the back there. It's going to make her a little difficult to stand, but as a whole, she looks absolutely magnificent. And a closer look at her face and head sculpt, and it is absolutely fantastic. Spot on to Anne Hathaway. Even zoomed in up close, it almost looks like a photo from the movie. The flesh color, the rosy cheeks, the red lips, the eyes, the mask, the goggles, the hair, it is all there, and it looks great. McFarlane, you have outdone yourself. What do you guys think? I think this looks excellent. Now let's check at her hands. She has a total of 4 of them, 2 gripping hands and 2 open hands. Here she is with her first pair of hands. These are her open hands. And here's her second pair of hands. This is a pair of gripping hands. This will allow her to hold the Batpod. These are the hands you want on this Catwoman. She also has a pretty cool action feature. As you can see here her goggles up. Now in the movie, her goggles went up on top of her head and then went on top of her eyes. In addition to that, the lenses would rotate. Right now, the lenses are sort of pointed up, but they would rotate up typically when they're on top of her head and look like cat ears, and then when she slowed them down, they would rotate and go against her eyes. This one actually allows the goggles to go up and down, which is a really cool feature. Mine has some quality control issues on the right side here. The peg comes out pretty easily. As you pull it down, cover up her eyes, notice the peg came out. It's kind of annoying, but it's very, very tight, and you sort of push it right back in. Not a big deal. This is how she was when she drove the Batpod, or had her goggles down when she's breaking into a safe, etc., etc. And then she can flip them right back up. Now, that is very, very cool of a feature. No action figure company has even attempted to make it where the lens would rotate, but that would be a very difficult thing to accomplish. Here's a Platinum Chase variant. This has the lenses rotated where it looks like cat ears on top of her head. This is my preferred look for Anne Hathaway's Catwoman from The Dark Knight Rises, because it has more of a Catwoman vibe to it. And now they're taking a pretty good look at Catwoman and her accessories. Now for her height. From bottom to the top of her head, standing at about 6.9 inches tall, which is going to translate to 17.5 centimeters. And now for her articulation. We already went over the articulated goggles, really cool feature. Her head can rotate from side to side. If you want to, you can get the hair over and rotate it all the way around. Look up about that far, down, pretty decent amount. Can tilt her head from side to side. Shoulders, ball joint goes about 90 degrees. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. She's got a butterfly joint between her shoulder and chest, increasing the range of motion and covering that large gap that would be there. No bicep cut, but she has a very nice, I guess also bicep cut at the top of her glove, and it's hidden very nicely. Double jointed elbows. Her wrists, it can rotate, and it is going to be hinged as well. Ball joint her torso, rotate around, forward and back. Another one in her waist, rotate around, forward and back. Between the two, very nice range of motion, although it looks a little weird when you rotate her that far. I get a little more of the waist than the torso on her. Legs, complete does the splits. McFarlane style hip joints. Rotation is non-existent. They go forward all the way. Back, not much. She has a thigh cut here. That is unusual for McFarlane figure, and hidden very nicely at the top of her boot. Double jointed knees. And then her ankle. Rotate. Tilt, rock. Forward and back. And of course, toe articulation. Now I wanted to check out the differences between these two Catwoman figures. The main difference is the goggles, but that's not it. So obviously, if you look at their heads, they have the same sort of expression. This one has the goggles on top with the cat ears up. This one has the goggles on top with the cat ears down, and you can flip the goggles down over her eyes. The hair is also quite a bit different. Her hair is sort of neutral, laying down, and hers is sort of sticking up a little bit, like it's flowing in the wind off the Batpod. Now, besides that, everything else is exactly the same. Same figure, same sculpt, same articulation. Now, as far as reuse goes, I compared her in depth with the Nightfall Catwoman, and the only bit of reuse, as weird as this is the kneecap on the top. The boots look very similar, but are actually completely different sculpt. The kneecaps, I'm pretty sure, are the same. Now I switch gears to the Batpod. Batpod looks great. I attached the two guns. It's got a large can in the middle, two smaller guns above and below. The tire is made of rubber. Look at the tread, looks great, and it actually moves. It's got the handles where she's going to be able to hold it. On the other side here, it's a little bit different. You can see the paint job is pretty nice. It's not all one solid color on some of the metallic parts. It has some silver, some black, etc. Her knees will rest here. Feet will stay on the back. The seat, where she's going to sort of lay out stretched on it. Back tire also moves. As a whole, I think it looks excellent. It doesn't rotate or do anything up here, which will be kind of nice. And in the movie, the Batpod did this really weird thing that doesn't make any sense in my head, where this wheel would actually rotate, kind of flip around. He did it in both The Dark Knight, and she did it in The Dark Knight Rises, and it defies laws of physics. It doesn't make sense in my head, and there's really no way you could ever get the action figure vehicle to do that. As a whole, it looks just right. And a closer look at the Batpod. Tire looks great. Nothing really special going on with that plastic going up there, except the paint job is good on some parts. Some parts it's pure black, some parts it looks like it's been worn, has a little metal, etc. As we go to the side, you see where her knees will rest, all the different silver sort of metal there, and then the front with the other tire and the cannons. It looks good for the most part, but it's kind of basic in the sense of there's not a lot of plastic for the price. Now to check out the measurements of this thing. So from front to the very back, front cannon about 14.5 inches. Up and down about 4.25 inches tall to the tallest point. And as far as how wide it is, about 3.5 inches wide. And as far as the action features go, both wheels can rotate, and then you can put a figure on it. And that's all you can do, nothing else, and it doesn't really need anything else. Here's a look at Catwoman standing in front of the Batpod so you get an idea of scale purposes. Here's Catwoman sitting up on the Batpod. She has her goggles up. Next step, put her down all the way, holding the handles with the goggles down like she's ready to drive through Gotham City. Here's a look at Catwoman riding on the Batpod. I've seen some people online saying she doesn't fit on there properly. What the fuck are you guys talking about? She fits on there just fine. May not be easy exactly, but as you can see, her heels are touching the back. Her knees are pretty much sitting where they're supposed to be. Her hands are actually gripping onto the handle at the front there. Her elbows even sort of fit into the little slot where they're supposed to. It's kind of hard to see everything because she's kind of in the way. But for the most part, it works. It looks good. The goggles are down. This is how she is when she's driving. Of course, you probably want to have the head looking up just a little bit more. Bam. It looks good. She fits on it like she's supposed to. Yeah, the knee's a little bit higher up, but I can do some adjustments and get it just right. Like I said, not exactly easy. Here's her butt. Not exactly sitting down there, but it doesn't need to. It's not a traditional seat. You lay on it forward like so. And here's Batman riding on the Batpod. I'd say maybe he fits in there just a tiny bit better than Catwoman. It's difficult to get his hands around the handles. His foot is pretty much on the back. His knee is pretty close to the knee pad. I mean, I can do a little bit of adjustment, probably get that a little better. Hands are holding it. He doesn't get to look up quite as much as Catwoman. That's a little bit disappointing. If his head could look up just a little bit more, it would be about perfect. As it is, he's almost sort of looking down. He has this cloth wired cape, which you can sort of put in a pose, like he's flying or flapping in the wind, etc. I personally think this Batman is one that should have come with a Batpod. Batman with the cloth wired cape. And they could have released the cat ear Catwoman as the main release, and then the goggles sort of up and down version as the Platinum Chase variant. Just my 2 cents on the subject. Here's Catwoman breaking into the mob's space. She's trying to get what's in the safe. And when they put money on top of the safe, you know what's in it is even more valuable. She breaks in the safe. She gets what she wants. There's money. There's some videotapes. And the pearl necklace. And here's a look at this Catwoman doing a traditional bank robbery. Here she is coming out of the vault with duffel bags full of cash. Here's a look at Batman driving the Batpod through the streets of Gotham. He did this both in The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. That wired cape flowing in the wind is just excellent with this thing. And a side view of Batman driving the Batpod. Looks pretty good. Here's a look at Catwoman leaning against the Batpod, getting ready to take it out and help save the city. And then here's Catwoman riding on the Batpod, driving through the streets of Gotham, supporting Batman, just like at the end of The Dark Knight Rises. A side view of Catwoman on the Batpod. Looks pretty good. It is a pain in the ass to get her on there. I imagine the Batpod was designed more so for Batman, but they decided to include Catwoman with it. And they do both fit, but it's a little bit more cumbersome to get her onto it. Batman, it's hard to get his hands to hold onto the handles and keep everything in the right place. Her, it's a little easier to put her handles on there, but as a whole, I feel like Batman's a little bit of a better fit, but they both work pretty well. Here's a look at Catwoman chasing Bane's 3 camo tumblers through the streets of Gotham. They are determined to get that bomb reconnected to the core. She's taking them out one by one. The artillery on the Batpod is just amazing. A little bit more of an aerial shot of Catwoman taking down those tumblers. Now let's check it out. Next to some other Bat vehicles, starting off with some other Batpods, then some other Bat cycles. Here it is, next to the Mattel Batpod, which is a fantastic release, but the McFarlane one is scaled a little bit better for the 7-inch figures. Although they do fit on the Mattel one pretty nicely. And here it is, next to the Mafex version of the Batpod. Then, with the SH Figure Arts version of that Batpod. Here are all 4 versions of the Batpod. From left to right, McFarlane, Mattel, Mafex, and SH Figure Arts. Until now, The Mattel one has always been my favorite. It's very durable, and it looks great. I'll have to give it some time before I can tell you if McFarlane or Mattels are better. Probably going to go with McFarlane because it's scaled properly with the 7-inch figures. But the Mattel one is very, very nice. Here's this McFarlane Batpod next to the Soap Studios tumbler. That's a 1/12 scale vehicle. It's the largest tumbler they've made, but it's still a little undersized next to this Batpod. Can't wait to see McFarlane's tumbler. And here it is, next to the Hot Toys 1/12 scale The Bat. This is for 6-inch scale and looks giant next to the Batpod, but is still a little bit underscaled. It's for 6-inch scale figures, not 7-inch scale. And here's the Dark Knight Trilogy Bat Armory of vehicles. We have the tumbler, the Batpod, and the Bat. Here's this McFarlane Batpod, next to the McFarlane 1989 Batmobile, and McFarlane's Batmobeast. Now let's check it out, next to some other McFarlane Batcycles. Here it is, next to the Death Metal Batcycle. And here it is, next to the White Knight Batcycle. Then, next to McFarlane's The Batman Batcycle. And now, with McFarlane's The Batman Drifter Motorcycle. Next, with McFarlane's Flash Movie Batcycle. Here are all the different McFarlane Batcycles they've made so far. We have 5 of them, and there are so many more they could still give us. And here's this Batpod, next to Lobo's Space Hog. Now let's check her out, next to some other action figures, starting off with some other Catwoman figures. Here's this Batpod version of the Catwoman, next to the Platinum Chase version with the cat ears. The cat ears is my preferred look. Happy to have them both, though. Here she is, next to the Zoe Kravitz version of Catwoman from The Batman. Of course, McFarlane loves his variants, and he made 3 different versions of this Catwoman. My buddy actually made me a 4th one. Shout out to my boy Jason and his wife for making this unmasked version for me. I think it's pretty cool, because now you can have Catwoman with the mask fully on, and all the way to the mask fully off. And here she is, next to McFarlane's Arkham City Catwoman. And McFarlane made 2 versions of this Catwoman. And now, next to McFarlane's Nightfall Catwoman. This one is from the comics. And McFarlane made 2 versions of the Nightfall Catwoman as well. Here are all the different Catwoman figures McFarlane has made in their DC Multiverse line. We have a total of 9 of them so far, and there are going to be more coming in the future. And let's not forget, McFarlane also made these live-action Catwoman figures from the 1966 show. Here she is, next to a Diamond Select Toys Cat from Gotham. Then, next to all of my DC Direct and DC Collectibles Catwoman figures. And now, with the Soap Studios Catwoman, here she is, next to the Mezco Catwoman figures. And here she is, with all of my Mattel Catwomen. Then, with my Mafex Catwoman figures. And now, with the SH Figure Arts Catwoman. And with a Hot Toys 1/12 scale Catwoman. And finally, with some older Kenner Catwoman figures. Here are all of my different Catwoman figures. I believe I have almost all of them in the 6 and 7-inch scale. I'm aware of at least one DC Direct I'm missing, a Silver Age Catwoman, but the only one on my radar. Now the next Catwoman I'm going to get is going to be the McFarlane Catwoman Batpod 2-pack version. Here's Catwoman next to an older Danger Girl figure. I use this as Catwoman with her costume on but her mask off. Selena Kyle. Now let's check her out, next to some other McFarlane Dark Knight Trilogy figures. Here she is, next to the first wave. Joker, Batman, Two-Face and Scarecrow, collect-to-build Bane from the Dark Knight Rises. Then they released these 3 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Gold Label figures. At least here in the US, they were only sold as a bundle at the McFarlane Toys Store. We have Joker as a bank robber thug, Bane with his coat, and Joker as seen through the sonar vision. They released a cloth soft goods Christian Bale Batman and the Batman Ultimate Movie 6-pack. They also released an Interrogation Room Joker. It was a McFarlane Toy Store exclusive. They also released the Target exclusive Jokerized Dark Knight Trilogy Wave. Collect to build a Jokerized Bane from the Dark Knight Rises. And here she is, next to the newest wave of Dark Knight Trilogy figures. We have the Platinum Chase variant of Catwoman, the unmasked Hong Kong Skydive Batman, and then the Platinum Chase variant of the Hong Kong Skydive Batman with a cloth, wired cape. Here are all of the different McFarlane Dark Knight Trilogy Christopher Nolan figures. We have a total of 19 so far. Pretty sure that there's going to be a Tumbler with Lucius Fox coming in the near future. That'll give us another character. And there are so many other characters I would love to see from the Nolan trilogy. Alfred, Gordon, John Blake, Talia. I would get anything they would throw at us for that movie. Nurse Joker, Honor Guard Joker, hell, Mr. Zaz, Scarecrow in a business suit. I want it all. Now let's check her out next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how she fits in, both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix her with. Since she's a McFarlane toy, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect and work way smaller. But first, let's check her out with some of her McFarlane Toys brothers and sisters. In Freddy were 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale. And now, with some Jack-specific wrestling figures and some DST or Diamond Select toys, here she is, next to a pair of wire cutters. And here she is, with some DC Direct and NECA figures. Then, with some Mattel and Jazzwares wrestling figures. And now, with some Mezco and Mattel DC figures. Next, with some Mafex and Hasbro Marvel Legends. And finally, with some SH Figure Arts and some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, this is a fantastic action figure and vehicle set. Catwoman looks great. Looks just like Anne Hathaway. Body is very well done. Articulation's good. Texturing is good. Accessories, just the extra hands. Nothing too special there. And I do prefer the cat ear platinum version. But still, this one is really cool. The goggles going up and down is a very nice touch. Now the Batpod, it's awesome as well. It's the biggest Batpod that I have, so it scales properly with the 7-inch figures. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass to get either Batman or Catwoman onto the Batpod. But once you do, it looks fantastic. Batpod itself is good. Do wish it would maybe rotate a little bit at the top so you could turn it better. But it does really everything I need it to do. Now here are the issues. The Batpod is hard to stand up. I wish it had like a kickstand or some sort of display stand to help it with that. It just wants to fall over no matter what you do unless you support it somehow. It's also not worth the price. It was $70 just for Catwoman and the Batpod at the McFarlane Toys Store. Of course, you'll have to pay taxes and shipping on top of that. One thing that annoyed me was it was available for Canadians at Amazon.com for just $60. Doesn't seem very fair. And I don't mean 60 Canadian dollars, but $60 in US. The value just really isn't there. This thing should not have been a McFarlane Toy Store exclusive. The Batpod should have been available wide release as a $30 vehicle, just like all the other Bat Cycles have been in the past. I think that's the right price for it. Honestly, it should have been available as a bundle for about $50. But it is what it is. McFarlane definitely has been sort of edging the prices up and up and up a little bit. It's not quite the same as it was during the first 2 years. But still, if that's what it takes, I'm happy to have this thing, that's for sure. I can only imagine what the tumbler's going to cost. It's going to cost a lot. And it better be huge. If I were to rate this Catwoman and this Batpod, I'm going to give Catwoman probably an 8 out of 10. If I give this one an 8, I'd give the cat ears up at least an 8.5. But they both look so good. The face sculpt is tremendous. Now the Batpod, probably give that like a 7.5. It's just a little bit cumbersome to get the figure to fit on there properly. You got to fiddle with it quite a bit. The hands keep coming off the handlebars, etc., etc. And the fact that it doesn't stand up very good, I wish the wheels were a little bit flatter. Would make it so much easier to stand that thing up. It still looks fantastic and movie accurate. In fact, they both do. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.